Hello, everybody. I'd like to say thank you for the organizing committee for inviting me to do this lecture at the Pan-American Trauma Society meeting. I'm going to talk today about trauma and emergency in sports. This topic is very actual. It's something that happens all the time, but still is not a topic that has been discussed a lot in the meetings, in the conference, and the Congress. And I truly believe there's a lot of work to be done to help the multiple sports confederation to really provide a better trauma care to the athletes and in some in sports that can be a high risk of trauma. As you can see, an emergency can happen anytime, anywhere, any age. Can be an emergency in a volleyball game like this. Or can be an emergency in a soccer game like this. Look at the player that's start to run right now. And then suddenly he collapses. So in this situation, it's very important to early recognition of what's happening and to have early intervention and to have equipment available and professionals well trained to take care of the emergency. Yesterday, you had a trauma in a very famous NFL player. As you can see, if this kind of injury is not well treated quickly, the player could lose his foot. You have trauma in sports, and this is a famous trauma, and unfortunately, the Brazilian Formula 1 driver Ayrton Senna lost his life in this accident.
Senna da Silva hier vanaf de wagen van Schumacher is te zien. En Senna gaat eraf. Ayrton Senna schiet eraf. Op een volgaspositie gaat Ayrton Senna radeloos rechtdoor. Mijn god, wat gebeurt hier allemaal? We zijn aan boord bij Schumacher. En bij de wagen van Senna breekt er gewoon iets vast af. Dat is daar waar je doorschakelt naar de 6e versnelling.
So sometimes we think that trauma can happen only in sports that are dangerous, but not really. So when you have a sport event, a professional one, a well-organized one, or an event for your kids, a local league, you need to answer some questions. So are the teams or the people that are going to take care or respond to a traumatic or emergency well-trained? Do they have all the emergency equipment available? Do they have adequate support and transport to a hospital if needed, and quick support and quick transportation? How is intra-hospital care? Do they have intra-hospital care right away? Some events are not in the main cities, some events in the middle, in a rural area, or far away from hospitals. How going to be the intra-hospital care? And what have changed lately? And how I'm going to focus here, how did you prepare for the 2016 Rio Olympics and Paralympic Games? So sports-related trauma happen a lot, and a lot of people are going to think about cycling, equestrian car racing. Every year you have people dying on that. But you have a lot of trauma every day on football, soccer, on baseball, and other sports. Every day you can have kids receiving like a baseball ball at their face. You can have injuries playing gymnastics or doing esgrima or mountain bike or BMX. But where's the data? When you try to find data of mortality or injuries related to sports, we don't have. Just understand how what kind of emergencies we had during the Olympic Games. So, for example, the Athens Games in 2004, we have more than 10,000 medical encounters during the Athens 2004 Olympic Games. 7,000 encounters at the main clinic, 3,000 at the venues, sports venues. Half of these events were musculoskeletal, right, related to sports, but have a lot of other people needing dental care, ophthalmology care, etc. And in sport events, sometimes not only the athletes need help, sometimes the coach, sometimes the volunteers that work in the events, sometimes the families, all these people need to have care. During the games in Beijing 2008, they had more than 233 new emergency medical services open, 670 ambulances ready to transportation, more than 2,000 people in the pre-hospital ready for operation. And I visited their center. They have an amazing center. And during the games, the system in Beijing, the EMS received more than 93,000 calls, and they dispatched ambulance 18,000 times. So what's Olympic Games? Olympic Games is a huge event. It's the biggest sport event in the world. You have, during 17 days, 42 world championships. And during the Paralympic Games, you have 23 world championships in 12 days of competition. To see how big an event like this is, during the Rio 2016 Games, you had almost 11,000 athletes from 205 countries speaking different language, more than 45,000 volunteers, more than 25,000 media professionals, more than 7,000 delegation members, more than 3,000 technical officials. And during the Paralympic Games, you still have a huge number of athletes and people from 178 countries. As you can see, even Olympic Games, a lot of trauma can happen anytime. Some are pretty dangerous and some will be fatal. So the medical teams in an Olympic game, they need to take care of the athletes, the team officials, the technical officials, all the Olympic Paralympic family, all the media, all the sponsors, all the workforce, and all the spectators. So coordination is huge. You need to have medical care at the sports venue, at the hotels, at the media center, at the Olympic Park. And also need to have the organization going to the public hospitals, to the private hospitals. They're going to take care of the athletes or the media, etc. It's a huge event and coordination to provide care in 36 competition venues, 20 training venues, one Olympic village where I have the polyclinic, a small hospital, 2 Olympic family hotels, 1 Paralympic family hotel, 4 football hotels, the media center, media village, and take care of the ceremonies, the open and closing. So for Rio 2016, the operation started on July 1st and only ended September 21st. A huge operation taking care of patients. And who is involved? And most of the workforce are volunteer. Most people come to work for free. So, and who they are? Sports medicine doctor, physiotherapists, sport massage therapists, chiropractors, family practice doctor, dentist, dental technician, ophthalmologist, dispatcher, nurse, first responder, dentist, field of play team, osteopath, radiologist, specialist doctor, pharmacist, trauma surgeons. So how can guarantee that you're going to have the best care always? Some of these people, they don't have the basic course like ATLS, ACLS, BLS. So what did you do during the Rio Games? At a special place where you have most likely emergencies or trauma, you have special things. You have people that I trust, that I knew from some Brazilian universities, for example, Santa Casa, Unicamp, Unisa. You have Brazilian Trauma Society surgeons, Brazilian Orthopedic Society, orthopedics, and it creates special things. You have medical students from trauma leagues also, where you have an event of triathlon or mountain bike or equestrian, and you have a huge probability to have a big trauma. You had some special people, specialists available to take care of these patients if needed right away. We did a lot of simulation training. For example, this was a simulation performed 4 years before, 2 years before the games. This was the first one, where we are already working with the defense forces to evaluate, transport a patient using new technology, and train the teams for AMCI response, to inter-hospital response, and the training abroad. Also, is a training in the United States, how to respond to multiple emergencies, and how to do simulation, hyper-realistic simulation in the emergency room, in trauma room, etc. And you train physicians and nurses. You receive physician nurse from Rio de Janeiro, in Miami. We train them basics of trauma team, the big concepts. So Rio de Janeiro physicians and nurses, they had a lot of training in the University of Miami and the University of Baltimore to learn how to be a team, how to work under a trauma system, because the expectations of emergency care were at international level, way higher. So they had a lot of training, and some emergency rooms that were not well equipped. So we transfer an emergency room that was like this, the trauma bay like this, to this. Not spend a lot of money, just use the equipment that they had, organize the system using protocols, guidelines, and we even had telemedicine available anytime to discuss case remotely if needed. So that's a real transformation. That's kind of legacy of a game like that in the healthcare. We did a lot of simulations, and I also had a lot of visits in sports events. For example, here at the Miami Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, where the football games happen. So the people from Rio de Janeiro, from the local organized committee came, they learned, they saw the equipment, how the response should be, what kind of equipment should we use to respond to an event in the field. And all this knowledge and training happened and you apply during the games. During Pan American Games, again, the people response for the EMS system, goes for field play or for the polyclinic, they went to the games. I was able to share and to see and to show them how Toronto prepared for the Pan American Games, the position, the equipment that were needed in the fields, and this was great. At the point that during the games, I had the honor to be in charge of all the medical emergency and MCI response for the games, and you create some basic plans based on some principles. So all plans and protocols were based on international, worldwide accepted and updated guidelines. All clusters have special teams of medical professionals specialized in emergency and sports medicine. We had big universities from Brazil and Santa Casa, Unicamp, Unisa, and University of Miami available to help the physicians and nurses available in special positions, and have worked with Brazilians and worldwide volunteers. At the venues, all the emergency procedure would be performed without delay. We had a special teams for risk events. The transportation would happen to referral hospitals safely and without delay. We'd have real-time communication between the real TOS system medical leadership and the receiving hospital. Every trauma that happened, every emergency, I was contacted and I was in contact with the receiving hospitals. And personally, I was going to every day to the hospital to see the patients that were there, to see what was happening and to communicate between the local teams and the countries. At the referral hospitals, you had for the athletes one hospital, for the media another hospital, and for the VIPs and Olympic family another hospital. Different place to be able to have like privacy. What was important at the Olympic Hospital, all plans and protocols were based on international worldwide guidelines. You had one operating room always available for an emergency. Specialists available in house or no more than 30 minutes away, 24/7. radiology, angio embolization available, massive transfusion protocols implemented, stroke alert, chest pain protocols 24/7. All the patients who had communication through one person, through IOC, International Olympic Committee, and through the countries. All security and privacy guaranteed, and had telemedicine capability to discuss cases, especially in Brazil, Miami, and other places anywhere in the world. So at the medical venues, all emergency procedures were performed, like I said. Quality control was performed. And you had, again, all these plans implemented real time. Local hospitals for the public, for the spectators, you had the public hospitals. They empty the emergency rooms. They have equipment available. They have protocols, guidelines, kits, everything available for not only taking care of the spectators, but to respond to MCI if needed. These are an example of this is Maracanã Stadium, the stadium for the opening and the closing ceremony. All these yellow marks are where I had the medical teams, and I had one medical post at the basement for the field of play for the athletes, and then I have medical posts in the other areas. I have only 2 years and 1 month, but I had 3 radios to be connected. One with the venues, with the sports venue operation, another one with security, another one with medical. So anything would happen, I would know. So all the areas, all the venues, you have medical kits to start the triage case of MCI, and then you will interact with the Department of Defense for a response if it would be necessary. So this is an example of a medical area. We always had one medical area in all the venues for the athletes, another one for spectators, VIPs. You have two. Every medical area will have 2 beds with all the equipment, like critical care equipment available over there. Like I told, for example, this is gymnastics, an event with high risk. You had like my friends from the University of Miami available if an emergency happened. And every day at the venues, you had simulation. During 2 years, I was in Brazil 1 week per month to help with training, implementation, protocols, guidelines, and every day during the games, at every venue, they have a simulation of emergency care. Here, removing athletes from the water. Here, the basketball, the people ready. Here, doing simulation and debriefing afterwards. They need to review the medical kits, the medical bags, and know where the equipment was for airway, for circulation, etc., defibrillators, etc. So every day they need to test it, ventilators, defibrillators, check all the equipment, and really work as a team. So because every event has multiple risks, is a big event, and you needed to be ready. Here at triathlon, everybody ready. And here's the plan to have an idea. These road events have a lot of risk because they need to go one way, they're ups and downs. An ambulance sometimes, the streets are closed. You need to plan where the ambulance is going to be, what's the escape route to go to the hospital, how to access the field of play, etc. Everything with a lot of planning, a lot of debriefing, a lot of talks and training. And during the Olympics and Paralympic Games, a lot of support was performed to the athletes because sometimes some events are just high risks. You have Alex Nard, a multi-champion in IndyCar, running, racing, cycling. You have Grisma, have cycling. Paralympic athletes are even amazing. Some of them compete only with one leg, a lot of physical limitations, and they do amazing. So this is what happened in Rio 2016. Again, for trauma care, we need to work as a team. We need to have everybody know their importance. Everybody is important. Everybody need to help each other. And that's the feeling that you have when you accomplish your mission, when everybody's happy to help and to do good care. Again, the importance for trauma care, emergency trauma in sports, is to do training. And training sometimes is fun, right? you need to train. He's a trainer for car racing. I have been involved. A good friend Pedro. So we did the training and train again. We think they are good to do more training. How to do instruction a driver from a car racing, or how to remove somebody from a hill in a equestrian accident or in a cycling. So always need to be up to date in training. The video conference here had Dr. Dino Altman, a great friend. He's the vice chairman of the FIA medical committee, the physician from the Brazilian Grand Prix, Formula One. He has been connecting to us on the weekly meetings. Sometimes he's inside the medical car, just discussing trauma cases with us. And here's another situation during the last Formula One GP in Brazil. For example, we are doing training simulation, a computer simulated with the team they're going to be in the racing track, taking care of the drivers, or in the hospital at the speedway when we're going to receive patients. So training happen all the time, and every free time the physicians and nurses are training. Here's just an example. This is Alexander Zanardi.
Track picks up the lead. And Zanardi, with a terrible crash. Yellow is out. Zanardi coming out in turn one. Loses control of the car. The rest of the field, look at him slow down. There's debris all over that racetrack.
They'll go down over the curbs if necessary. There's so much carbon fiber on that track everywhere. They'll cut the tires. What we saw is he got T-boned just unbelievably in the front of the tub.
As you can see, he suffered amputation on both legs. He bled a lot. He was saved because the medical care at the time was amazing. You can see the softness in his legs flying away. Tourniquets were placed. This accident happened in Germany. And despite this terrible accident, for many people it could be the end of their lives, or the press, so they're going to be in a terrible situation. As you can see here. That's Alex Renard. The importance of good care at the scene at the time of the trauma. Sports event. So Alex Zanardi recovered for this accident, and he became a Paralympic athlete. He won 3 gold medals in Paralympic cycling during the Olympic Games in London. He won 2 gold medals, 1 silver medal during Rio 2016 Olympic Games. And I spoke to him because a good friend of mine, Dr. Steve Ove from University of Miami, was the physician for the in-car race at that time. He was the one that took care of Zanardi, and when I told Zanardi that I was a friend of Steve Ove, he was very happy to hear and send a message to Dr. Ove. So I need to say these athletes are amazing. They're superhuman beings. They have a lot of determination. They're winners, they are heroes. And you are there just to help them and support them in case they need. Mr. Alex Zanardi had 2 months ago another crash during cycling. Unfortunately, he hit during an event. He hit like a truck. He had a bad head trauma. Was in coma, and now had buccal trauma. And now he's fighting for his life and recovering. So our prayers are with Alex Zanardi, and wish really he win this again and can recover. I need to to talk about Laisos, a friend, an athlete that I met in London, where she was going for her 3rd Olympics, and she had an injury two days before the games. She broke her hand. Then she was transitioned to winter sports. She qualified for the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympic Games in Sochi. But then a few weeks before the games, she was practicing training in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and then she she had an injury, high C-spine injury, and she became paralyzed, quad. But even after that, I cannot remember one day that Laís was not positive, was not fighting, was not smiling, and understanding the situation, what happened. She told me that to always be fighting, always be ready, always be in good shape. Because if sometime you have something that can cure her, should be ready, should be fitted. So athletes like this, they deserve our respect. Athletes like this, they deserve all the work that you do, all the research that you do. And I really hope that one day we can help all the athletes to recover, especially everyone that have a spinal cord injury or paralysis. You are missing these moments. You have friends, sports, trauma, make friends around the globe. You are missing, with COVID, I'm missing sports event. I'm missing to see our friends, to meet our friends. But I truly believe that the lesson that we learned is that we need to do our best to help sports, to do planning, to prevent problems, to planning if some accident happened, to provide the best care at the field, during transportation, at the hospital, and then work with rehabilitation. To all my friends, to all the people that I've been working with, I'm missing you all. And I hope that you're going to be back in the sports area, sports events together. And I hope that together you can create an alert that there's a lot still to be done in trauma in sports. And I count on all of you to keep working and improving trauma care in sports events. Thank you very much. Gracias. Obrigado.